Greetings and good health to you, familia. This is just a gentle, brief, friendly reminder that I do have merch on my Teespring store for you guys. This is the Cozy Collection, so be sure to check out my unisex premium hoodies with customized designs and as well as my mugs, something for you to sip on your warm beverages while you watch the content, and even the tumbler that you can put both hot or cold beverages or even some soup as you watch the content. Be sure to click on the cards that will pop up on your screen in the middle of this video or the link in my description box, or you can visit my merch store right here on my channel. Thank you so much for your support, and now let's get into today's story. Sharleea King was born March 4th, 1971 in Saginaw, Michigan. She was raised to be a God-fearing young woman as she was baptized at the Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Saginaw, and then she went on to be a member of the Mount Nebo Missionary Baptist Church. Some of her favorite things to do was cook. She loved to cook. She enjoyed styling hair, spending time with her friends. She loved to entertain company and make sure, everybody was good around her. If you was with her, you was good. And she just enjoyed spending time with her family. And speaking of family, Leigh became a mother at 20 years old when she brought her first child into the world, who she named Stefan Laron Roby, who was born November 1st, 1991. And 10 years later, on April 25th, 2001, she gave birth to a baby girl, Sharleea King. Leigh raised her children in the church just as she was raised. And Sharleea was also baptized. She got baptized at the Mount Nebo Missionary Baptist Church at 11 years old in October of 2012. Sharleea was an animal lover, a 6th grade student at Francis Rhea Academy, and she loved to play with her pup that was named Polo, and she also enjoyed spending time with her family, just like her mother, and hanging out with her best friend. A simple, happy life, is how it was supposed to be for the King residents until it wasn't. It was Wednesday afternoon at approximately 1 p.m., March 6, 2013, when Stefan made a 911 call seeking assistance for a horrific crime scene in his home at 208 Hess Avenue in Saginaw, Michigan. Stefan told dispatchers that he believed someone broke into his home, and not only that, but he apparently walked in to find both his mother and sister deceased in his mother's bedroom just 2 days after Leigh's 42nd birthday. As Stefan is speaking to the dispatcher, he's telling them what he believed to have happened. He said that he left the house that morning to go to Delta College at approximately 10 a.m. And then he said he went on to get a tattoo. He had just a busy day of doing things, and then he came back home, and that's when he came upon the gruesome, bloody scene. Stefan stated he believed whoever did this must have gotten into the house by removing the screen out of a window on the side of the house and broke in that way. Stefan's mother Leigh has suffered from 2 gunshots to the back of her head, while his sister Sharleea was shot twice in the face and once in the side of her head. Stefan was taken into custody so that he could be questioned, and detectives questioned him with an immediate tone as if they believed he had everything to do with the deaths of his mother and sister. Stefan did ask if he could speak with an attorney, but his request was denied. During this interrogation, police reportedly began to make assumptions about what they believed could have happened in that home, and they asked Stefan if he had any tension with his mother and his sister, digging for probable cause. And Stefan admitted that he had gotten into an argument with his little sister over a tablet, but it wasn't anything major. According to him, he said he just took the tablet and left her alone. Well, during that line of questioning is when police insinuated that maybe Stefan might have molested his sister, and that's why he wanted to get rid of her so she wouldn't tell on him. And all of this is according to a court document that's easily accessible online. So anyway, police made up their mind that Stefan was the one who did this. They arrested him and they charged him for their homicides. Fast forward to November 2014, Stefan took the case to court, and against the judge's constant warnings not to, Stefan decided he was going to represent himself as he maintained his innocence. Before Representing himself, the judge did order for Stefan to have a mental health evaluation to see if he was competent to even represent himself, and he actually had several exams performed. Stefan's family said that Stefan had been professionally diagnosed with bipolar disorder and paranoid schizophrenia. The results from the exams the judge ordered came back that Stefan was deemed competent to represent himself and can be held criminally responsible. So the court allowed him to do so, but only on one condition. He had to be heavily shackled and wear a stun vest beneath his clothes because several shanks had been found in his cell during his time in prison. If he were to attempt to escape or disrupt the court, there would be up to 75,000 volts of electric shock into his back for a duration of 5 to 8 seconds, similar to a stun gun. The trial went on for a total of 3 weeks. And on the morning of Tuesday, December 9th, 2014, both the prosecution and Stefan delivered their hour-long closing arguments, with Stefan attempting to go over the hour limitation, and Judge Fred L. Borchard had to abruptly cut him off. The prosecution made sure to highlight Stefan's cold-blooded demeanor from the time he made the 911 call, where he had no emotion in the tone of his voice, to the way that he never referred to Leigh as his mom or mother at all during the trial. He instead called her by her full name and again showed zero emotion during the entire trial. During his argument, Stefan said the evidence that was shown in court was unreliable. He said the circumstantial evidence was minor, and if there was a number less than absolutely zero, that's how much evidence they would have against him. Mind you, one of the pieces of evidence he spoke of was small spatters of blood stains in the bottom of his white t-shirt, which was believed to have gotten there as a result of him shooting his sister in the face, according to the testimony of Saginaw Police Detective Matthew Garreau. Stefan really just regurgitated his opening statement word for word for his closing argument, trying to convince the jury that there were 8 other possibilities of what could have happened to his mother and sister other than him being the one who took their lives. One of those possibilities being that the blood found on his undershirt could have came from his sister wearing his shirt at a different moment in time. He stated there was no credible witness or statement that he had a firearm or that he was the one who killed his mother and sister. The irony in that is he tried to use a neighbor's statement in his favor when he pointed out that the neighbor said they heard a loud noise similar to somebody kicking in the door at about 2 a.m. that morning, and they apparently believed they seen a black male wearing a brown trench coat walking around in the neighborhood. Stefan tried to theorize that a burglar was the one who possibly entered their home from the time he called 911 all the way up until now in his closing argument, saying that this burglar is the one who killed his mother and his sister. But the prosecutor argued that the evidence they had didn't match that theory, because he pointed out how the county forensic pathologist Dr. Kanu Varani testified that Leigh was shot sometime between 1 in the morning and 3 in the morning, and that Sharleea was killed as late as 7 in the morning. It wouldn't have made sense for a burglar to enter the home, kill Leigh in her first floor bedroom, then wait hours upon hours to then go upstairs to Sharleea's bedroom, shoot her in the face, sit there as Sharleea would have made her way back downstairs to her mother's bedroom, and then sit on her mother's bed, and then the burglar follow her downstairs to then shoot her in the side of her head. None of that would have made sense for somebody who just wants to come in, steal goods, and get up off the scene. The killings were clearly done in a passionate way. Plus, Detective Garreau said Stefan made claims to have been asleep on the couch when all of this happened. Then, if that's the case, he would have heard the burglars kick the door down, since he would have been right there on the first floor, the same as his mother's bedroom. The prosecutor also stated that the theory Detective Garreau testified with made much more sense. The detective said he believed that Stefan shot and killed his mother as she slept, hence the 2 shots in the back of her head, then went upstairs, shot his sister twice in the face, left the house, came back, and found his sister in his mother's bed, which indicated to him that she was still alive because she got up and was able to maneuver downstairs to her mother's bedroom. So at this point, it is believed that Stefan then shot his sister in the side of her head as she laid in her mother's bed. Another theory Stefan presented that was debunked was the theory that someone broke in through the screen of a window on the side of the house. Remember, I told you earlier that's what he told the dispatchers. Well, it was argued that the screen on the inside of the window had a latch to it. So how would this, burglar would have been able to break through the screen if the screen wasn't on the outside of the window? It was on the inside with a latch. Plus, there had been some dirt on the outside of the window, and the dirt hadn't been disturbed, indicating that there was no sign of someone breaking into the home from the side window. There was no sign of someone even fooling with the window because nothing was disturbed and nothing was out of place. So now, after a 3-week trial, it took 30 minutes of deliberation for a jury of 8 women and 4 men to find Stefan L. Roby, who was 23 years old at the time, guilty on all charges: 2 counts of premeditated homicide of Sharleea and Leigh, as well as 4 other felony possessions of a firearm. Stefan, before being sentenced, had some things to say to Judge Borchard.
And I feel as though that most of my emotions didn't get past because you were distracted.
Well, that is totally untrue.
Well, when she was on the stand, your phone kept going off a couple of times, and you kept asking her, was it her phone? When I came into the courtroom, I seen you on the phone.
Not while the court was in session.
Okay, but your phone was still going off, and you were still distracted by the phone.
No, that is untrue. That is totally untrue. And that has nothing to do with the sentence.
Yes, it does have something to do with it.
Do you have anything you want to tell me in regards to this sentence?
Yes, I'm going to file for a mistrial because I don't
Denied.
believe it.
Anything else?
No.
And Stefan wasn't the only one with some words. The judge had some parting words for Stefan before he left the courtroom, sentencing him to 2 mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole.
This is one of the most egregious cases I've ever had. When you shoot and murder your mother,
Don't worry about what I do.
the woman that brought you into this world, and your sister, and you're going to spend the rest of your natural life in prison. Hopefully someday you'll think about that. Get him out of here. I'm done.
There were family members present in the courtroom, and as Stefan's sentence was handed to him, you can hear the cries and the sighs of relief as they realized that justice by law had been served for the moment. It was reported that Stefan showed 0 emotion as he heard his sentencing. Once again, just no emotion being shown on his face, very cold, very callous. He briefly looked at his family members and then he lowered his head. So why did all of this allegedly even happen in the first place? Well, for now, all we have is a theory, and later on in the story, I'll explain why it's just a theory. So, first and foremost, Stefan swears up and down that he never killed his mother and sister. But what we do have for now is probable cause that was brought forth by Sharleea's best friend during the trial, who was just 13 to 14 years old at the time. You see, the young lady who was a witness on the stand explained that she was at the King residence just a few days before the homicides, and she said that Sharleea had found a firearm in Stefan's bedroom and gave it to their mother. Apparently, this has set Stefan off, and he became so enraged that he told his mother and sister that he will burn the house down and kill them. In addition to the young lady on the stand giving her testimony, apparently 2 inmates who spoke with Stefan stated that Stefan told them himself that he killed his own mother and sister, which was taken into account during the trial. The detective also testified that people close to Leigh stated there had been times where she told them she believed Stefan would kill her one day. And Stefan questioned the relevancy of that statement because according to him, it doesn't make sense to mention that because his mother continued to support him and she didn't end up dead before. So, basically saying like, if I didn't kill her before, then why would I have had to kill her this time? And the detective said, well, I don't know what made you snap, but I believe that your mother loved you even though she was very afraid of you. And what's crazy about Sharleea's death is the forensic pathologist stated that Sharleea could have very well been alive today had Stefan not shot her that one last time, allegedly, because the 2 shots to the face wasn't enough for them to be fatal. Hence how she was able to move from her room and go downstairs to her mother's room while Stefan was going out the house. But unfortunately, Stefan just may have caught on to that and made sure that he finished her off before she could live to tell her story. So I took the liberty of looking up this man on Facebook, and I came across a page of his and wasn't necessarily surprised that he even has an updated Facebook account with pictures of him currently incarcerated, because all the inmates these days has access to social media and technology and all that behind the wall. They got cell phones, tablets, iPads, all kinds of stuff. But I think I was more shocked at seeing him still speaking on fighting his case. He had a post up talking about he was going back to court on the 13th because he still got to fight this quote unquote dumbass shit all over again, his words. But nothing shook me more than to find out that as of today, as I'm writing this script on November 15th, obviously some days ahead of me posting this video, is the day that Stefan's convictions have been overturned. So when I started researching this story, right, I seen on his offender tracking page on the Michigan Department of Corrections website that he had a maximum discharge date of November 13th, 2024. So I immediately assumed that he was about to get out of prison, that he was about to come home. I'm like, maximum discharge date. I'm like, oh my God, he about to come home. But when I was doing my research, it said it didn't necessarily mean that he was going to come home. It was something else, like, you know, like it was supposed to be a date for something else, but I just didn't know what that something else was. You know, I didn't fully understand what was going on, but I just knew that it said he wasn't necessarily coming home. So as I'm looking at this discharge date with his mandatory life sentence, I'm like, okay, let me look further. So I look on his Facebook page, like I said, I see him talking about going home. So something said, let me go back and check that offender tracking page. And sure enough, it says that he has been discharged from the prison he was previously housed in, but he still remains in Saginaw County Jail right now at this time as he awaits a new trial. So whatever research I did before, it was correct. It didn't necessarily mean that he was coming home, but he's no longer in the prison that he was housed in before. Now he's in county jail, which is a step down from prison, I guess, awaiting his new trial. Now, according to MLive.com, an appellate court overturned the convictions on the basis that the trial was unfair. A 3-judge Michigan Court of Appeals issued a 20-page opinion vacating Stefan's convictions back in June and remanded his case to the lower court for a new trial, citing, quote, cumulative errors that deprived the defendant of a fair trial, end quote. Judge Fred L. Borchard's errors included allowing jurors to hear incriminating statements Stefan made to police after being denied his right to an attorney, hearsay evidence, and references to Stefan's prior crimes. The judges also found that Stefan established some evidence that another culprit may have been involved, whom police did not investigate. So, in a nutshell, there's a huge possibility that after all these years, Stefan may or may not be a free man walking amongst society very soon. And both Leigh King and her baby girl Sharleea King may never receive the justice that they deserve. And I'm inclined to keep up with the progress of this case to see what happens because, you know, I want to know what's going on. Who did what? And will Sharleea and her mom ever receive the justice that they deserve, you know? Familia. Of course, I want to know what y'all think. Do you believe Stefan's story that it wasn't him who killed his mother and sister based on all that you've heard thus far? Or do you feel like he's a lying, sick, evil human that needs to be thrown under the jail for the rest of his natural life? What do you think about people saying that Leigh was afraid of her son? What do you think about the little girl who said she heard Stefan threaten to kill his mother and his sister? And even if he did threaten them, does that necessarily make him a killer? Do you believe that there is a possibility that somebody could have broken into the house even though he claimed to have been sleeping on the couch where he would have heard somebody breaking in? Of course, familia, you know how we do. Let me know how you feel in the comments below and we could chop it up. For now, I want to send my deepest condolences to the family of Leigh and Sharleea. My heart goes out to you all. I can imagine how betrayed they feel by the law right now, all these years later, when at that time in 2013, they thought, you know, they thought they had justice. They were crying. They were sighing of relief. They felt like, okay, good. Sharleea and Leigh can rest in peace. And now, this is where we at, where his convictions are being overturned and a new trial is coming up here in the 2020s. This mother and daughter duo deserve to be respected, loved, and to live in peace. Sharleea deserved to live out the rest of her years growing up, having fun, finishing school, and, just finding herself in this world. And Leigh deserved to be able to witness her baby girl flourish instead of living in fear in her own home because of her own son. I hate the idea of knowing that Leigh went to sleep that night, none the wiser of her fate. And I hate the idea of how much pain Sharleea was in as she found her way to lay beside her mother before her life was viciously taken away. Sharleea would have been 23 years young this year. 2 beautiful Black ladies gone way too soon. Rest in peace, Leigh and Sharleea King. May your spirits live on with your loved ones forever. You'll never be forgotten.